So, hey, Ben, welcome to the BRANDfill BreakUp, man. Congratulations. I'm so happy to have you here. We've got this really important milestone that SwagCycle has achieved. We'll talk about that, obviously. But before we get into that, I thought it would make sense for me to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the Promo Cares community and talk a little bit about Grossman Marketing and SwagCycle.
Excellent. Roger, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So my name is Ben Grossman. I'm co-president of Grossman Marketing Group. We're a fourth-generation family business. We're headquartered in the Boston area. And I'm also the founder of SwagCycle. We are a platform. We're all about landfill divergence of obsolete branded merchandise. So when companies rebrand or get acquired or change marketing messaging, oftentimes merch becomes obsolete. And I've seen that firsthand with clients where we've been on the receiving end of requests to throw items away, and it never sat well with me. And we looked out in the marketplace to see if there was a better way, and there wasn't. And so we decided to, with our team, build that. And so over the last 5.5 years, we built SwagCycle, and we're a platform. We focus on charitable donation of merch. We have several hundred charitable partnerships around the country and some around the globe, as well as recycling and upcycling of products too that can't live on in the marketplace, generally for brand compliance or security reasons.
It's so amazing. I just like if there's ever been a person or a vehicle in the industry that's emblematic of what Promo Cares is all about, I really can't think of anything more like within the ethos of what Promo Cares wants to accomplish, as SwagCycle has been able to do. You've achieved some really incredible milestones lately. Why don't you talk a little bit about like the evolution of the program and where it's grown to?
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, so to date, we've facilitated more than $11 million of charitable donations.
Wow.
To organizations like Dress for Success, United Way, Boys and Girls Club, Delivering Good, Provision Ministry, and a whole host of others around the country, as well as in other countries too. And we've kept more than 3 million items out of landfills, either through charitable donation or recycling and upcycling. And oftentimes, so with recycling, the types of products that we most often get asked to recycle are apparel, because those are items that companies tend to be most sensitive about floating around in the marketplace.
Sure.
And these could be banks where they don't want anyone impersonating one of their workers, in-home healthcare workers, in-home telecommunications, utilities workers, and just other companies that are sensitive about it. And apparel being the largest product category in the promotional products industry, that also makes it a disproportionate amount of requests. But we also get involved in recycling metal and plastic items and lapel pins and battery sticks and other products like that. And so it's been fun because in promotional products, you work on building a supply chain.
Sure.
And at SwagCycle, we've actually built a reverse supply chain to take items apart and find ways to keep items out of landfills. So when we recycle apparel, it gets turned into things like carpet pad fill, insulation materials, the types of fill that goes into like a boxing speed bag, for example, and a whole host of other industrial applications. So these items get broken down and get turned into other things, which is really fun and satisfying too.
Yeah, I mean, just the notion of like, hey, see that bag over there? Like I had a hand in making that thing be a thing. It's gratifying for sure. So talk a little bit about the mechanics. Like how does SwagCycle work? If somebody from the industry was paying attention to what we're talking about right now and wanted to keep that in their toolkit, like what's the mechanics of that?
SwagCycle is built to make sustainability simple. So when a brand has excess or obsolete merch, things like apparel, drinkware, bags, or office items, we'll assess the inventory and determine the best next step. So the first question we ask is, can the items remain in circulation? Can they go to a charity? If so, we prioritize donation to nonprofits that have a clear stated need. So we've vetted these charities. Like we've checked their IRS filings. We've generally met with them. We have a relationship with them. We know that those items aren't going to be resold in a gray market, which we know has been an issue for brands like Yeti over time. if the brand needs to be removed from the marketplace, so as I mentioned, like for a bank or in-home healthcare organization, we'll explore responsible recycling or upcycling. And our team manages the entire process. So from vetting the charities to arranging freight to documenting outcomes, every project gets documented. So for a charitable project, we don't view that project as being done until the donor receives a charitable donation letter from the charitable partner.
Yeah.
So, for example, we did a lot of work around California wildfire relief. A lot of those donations, we worked with a disaster relief organization partner of ours delivering good, and every single one of those donor partners received a charitable donation letter attesting to the fact that their donation actually was received by a 501c3 organization. Similarly, with recycling or upcycling projects, there will be some type of certificate of recycling or certificate of destruction that is issued by the plant partner. We're very transparent about it. We're a platform, so we work with dozens of recycling and upcycling partners and hundreds of charitable partners. And our goal and our role is to remove friction from that process. So because one of the reasons that in the past we found, and when we've talked to clients and other donors out there, the reason why they haven't done this before is because there wasn't some type of scalable solution that made the process easy. So we've tried to lean on our lived experience as a distributor in the industry to build out SwagCycle. And SwagCycle is a separate company. So we work with many end user companies like Amazon and Meta, but we also work with many distributors around the country as well as some suppliers too.
Yeah, one of the hallmarks of promo cares has been this idea of cooperation over competition. So I think, one thing we would agree that our industry does well is when we see something work, we're not afraid to sort of glom on to something that is effective. So have you had any specific instances where there have been other members of the industry on the distributor side that you've come together with on a project?
Many. So, as an example, we've worked with BAMCO a number of times over the last couple of years, and they even included me in a webinar. I did a webinar for their several hundred of their clients, along with their CEO, Jake Himmelstein. So an example of a project that we actually partnered on with them, they had a hospital client that had a partnership with an NBA team, and that partnership ended, and they had 2,200 baby blankets in inventory that were brand new, that were shrink wrapped and untouched. And they came to us and asked if we had a potential solution for them. And we actually had a relationship with a charity in Southern California called Baby to Baby, which is focused entirely on getting baby products to low-income families. And so not only did we keep those items out of landfills and get them to a worthy cause, but they were fairly close by to where the items were inventoried. So there were minimal carbon emissions to get the items from the warehouse to the charitable partner. And we've partnered with BAMCO several times. We've partnered with a whole host of other organizations and it's actually quite satisfying. A number of distributors actually include SwagCycle on their sustainability page on their website, in RFP responses, when they're trying to demonstrate their commitment to sustainability. One of the ways that they can demonstrate that is thinking about end of life of items.
Yeah.
And we are thrilled to be their partner to deliver that value to their customers.
I'm sure it's been especially gratifying for you in those instances where you get client reaction around their ability to have executed on what SwagCycle is capable of doing. Have anything anecdotally about testimonials from a client perspective?
Oh, there's been so many. Amazon was quoted in one of our impact reports that this was for their AWS division. They had a number of t-shirts that they no longer needed, but they didn't want them necessarily floating around in the marketplace, and we had them recycled and shredded, and made the problem go away, but found an environmentally responsible solution. Because again, the key phrase is landfill divergence. We do not. Sometimes the path of least resistance for companies is just throw things away, and then they'll end up decomposing in a landfill, releasing lots of methane gas, which is really bad for the environment. And so how can we, if an organization doesn't want to donate those items, how can we find a solution where they can be kept out of landfills? And that's where that Amazon example comes in. Similarly, we worked very closely with Meta when they rebranded from Facebook to Meta, and they reached out to us. They had, and their request was actually fairly intricate, where they had items in the US as well as items in the UK, and it was really high quality items. And they were committed to charitable outcome. They were comfortable with the items living on in the marketplace, but they just didn't have the resources internally to figure out where to go. Right. And the items that they had were warehoused with a distributor and in the Atlanta area, and we had them donated to a charitable partner in Georgia. And then similarly, the items in the UK we had donated to one of our charitable partners in the UK, and those folks have been wonderful testimonials for us as well. Some of those items actually went to Ukrainian refugee relief, closer to the front lines of the war over there. So it's pretty satisfying to be able to do that meaningful work.
For sure. And you have the unique perspective of sort of standing at this intersection of the life cycle of merch, right? And most distributors that you or I would speak to, if we were to talk about swag life cycle, there's probably not a lot of appetite on the part of our entire distributor base as to wanting to be the shepherd of the product through the end. So because you've had that opportunity to sit at this intersection, what do you perceive like the next 2, 3, 5 years to be in this lane that we're talking about here for promo?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think that one thing that's really going to be important over time in promo is just thinking about the full product life cycle. Mm-hmm. I think, as we talked about that, a lot of companies really haven't thought about that, and they haven't given it too much consideration. And that's going to be very important. We feel like clients want to know, and the data is very clear. People want to buy from and work for socially responsible companies. Mm-hmm. But we've always been careful, and I've been involved in sustainability for close to 20 years. I launched our green marketing and sustainability practice at Grossman Marketing Group back right out of business school almost 17, 18 years ago, and ran a series of seminars over the years for our clients and prospects around sustainability. And one thing we've talked about with people over time is you can't just slap a green label on something and claim to be environmentally responsible. It has to be a holistic approach to sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Otherwise, it's not going to be seen as genuine, and it will be seen as, there's a term, greenwashing, where you're trying to seem environmentally responsible when you're not really that fully committed to the cause. Right. And we know that discerning buyers are going to think about what's a company's commitment to fair labor, what's a company's commitment to sustainability, what do they do in the community, and a whole host of other metrics. And that's where some of the certifications out there can be helpful for procurement organizations to lean on. But again, consumers are very smart, and they will know if it's the genuine article. And that's what we've been counseling people about, that sustainability, it's not just one thing, it's dozens of things. However, at the same time, we tell people who are at the beginning of their sustainability journey, who can be intimidated about where to start, just do something. With SwagCycle, make a donation, work on a recycling project. Internally at an organization, look at your waste management, look at your energy use, look at how do you work with factory partners that subscribe to fair labor? You know, what do you do? It can be many different things, but the key is that people want to work for organizations that take this seriously. They want to buy from organizations that take it seriously and report real metrics. And so another thing in our industry that I think is going to be very important over time is third-party verifiable data, where when a company or a supplier makes a claim that an item is recycled or made with renewable energy, footnote it, just like we learned in English class years ago, or just like we learned in history class years ago. According to whom is this item environmentally responsible? Show your work and show your data. And that's why I've seen some leading suppliers out there where they've been working with third-party data sources where an item might have a green claim on it, but there might be a QR code that you can actually scan with your phone and read where the recycled material came from, according to whom is it recycled, and what were those carbon emissions that might have been saved from that. And translating those claims into data that a discerning buyer can actually easily digest is a really important trend in our industry.
Well, there it is, man. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you know, like, I think it's amazing for you. And it's really, if we think about this, like when we interview folks about things that they've accomplished, and, you know, invariably we get to that point where it's like, well, what would somebody who wants to do this for the first time do to get started? And you answered it so eloquently. It's like, just try, let's try it. Let's see what happens, right? And knowing that there's SwagCycle in place for members of the industry to sort of not have to do something on their own, how best would you suggest that someone interested in participating in SwagCycle, like, how do they reach Ben? What's the best way to get involved and get participating?
So our website is swagcycle.net. There's a contact us area and a form to fill out. They can contact us. I mean, they can, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to reach as well. But no, I mean, you fill out a form, you contact us. We hear from companies every day, suppliers, distributors, charities who want to get on our platform, end user companies who are interested in working with us and have obsolete merch. And some of them are small to medium-sized businesses as well, where they might have a couple hundred water bottles that are obsolete. They don't want to throw them away. Do we have a place for them? Sometimes companies come to us where they have geographic restrictions. They're happy to donate, but they want it outside of their operational area. And we do that a lot with, you know, where we'll hear from someone in the Northeast, but they don't want to give it out in the Northeast, just from a brand protection perspective. But then we'll have them go to a charitable partner of ours in Texas or Florida or Michigan or California or a whole host of other states. And we do that a lot. So again, contact us. We'll ask some basic questions like, what do you have to, what do you have? What's the inventory look like? Can the items live on in the marketplace? If so, we work on doing a proper match based on potential geographic restrictions, what our charitable partners are interested in. If the items can't live on in the marketplace, we'll see if they can be recycled or upcycled. If they can, we'll provide a quote. So the way our model works is we don't charge for charity. When we set out, this is both a corporation, but it's a social enterprise. And I never wanted to make money off of charitable donations. So we only ask that the donor covers the shipping costs to get the items from their office or their warehouse or their supplier's warehouse to the charitable recipient. So they cover shipping and that's it. And if they put it on their shipper number, no dollars change hands with SwagCycle. We do charge for recycling, upcycling services. We're working with a large global consulting firm right now. They had a service event and they have a lot of t-shirts left over. And we're working with a partner of ours to actually have them cut down and sewn together and turned into tote bags
Nice.
that they're going to end up using in their company store or for some other giveaways. And we do charge for that. So we have a cost, we have a profit margin, and we have a sell. and the profit that we derive from the recycling and upcycling helps to underwrite the charitable work that we do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very blessed that I have this ability in our industry to where my day job is running Gross and Marketing Group, and I'm very committed to the organization, but that I can see this challenge and actually work with my team to build a solution that can be, in some ways, the preeminent landfill diversion solution for the promotional products industry. We've worked with many distributors, we've worked with many suppliers, and certainly end user companies as well. Our industry sometimes gets criticized for making things and using resources to make things. And my answer to that has always been, well, the data is very clear that branded merchandise, when done in a tasteful way, has an impact, helps a company build their brand, helps a company make a sale, helps a company build a relationship with their employee base. So promotional products aren't going away, but how can we, with working alongside our partners in the industry, reduce the footprint that our industry leaves? And I think SwagCycle can play a big part in that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So the segment's called BRANDfill BreakUp, and I can't think of a better way to break up with your BRANDfill than to SwagCycle it. So that's it. That's all. That's everything. SwagCycle.net. If you haven't yet visited, please find a client that has what we call the closet of shame and tell them that they have a way to unburden themselves from all of that merch that's in their closet using SwagCycle. Ben, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. And I really appreciate you sharing your message with the BRANDfill BreakUp Promo Cares crowd.
Roger, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I think that one's better than